dust chokes the air as a colossal shadow falls over the battlefield. A primordial giant, forged from wood and iron, lurches forward, its path marked by devastation. This is not a creature of myth, but a weapon of war from a bygone era. These are not your average swords or spears. These are the monstrous machines that change the course of history, leaving a legacy of awe and destruction in their wake. Today we will uncover the 5 most earth-shaking weapons ever built. Firstly, we will discuss claymore. A claymore is a type of sword that originated in Scotland in the 15th century. It is characterized by its large, two-handed design and distinctive forward-curving hilt. The word claymore comes from the Gaelic term claidheim mor, which means big sword. Claymores were primarily used by Scottish Highland warriors, particularly during the late medieval and Renaissance periods. They were favored for their ability to deliver powerful cutting blows, as well as their intimidating size and appearance. The typical claymore had a blade that measured around 36 to 40 inches in length, with a handle long enough to accommodate both hands. In battle, claymores were typically wielded by skilled warriors who could effectively utilize their size and weight to deliver devastating strikes against opponents. They were often used in conjunction with a targe, a small shield, for added protection. Claymores were versatile weapons, capable of both cutting and thrusting attacks, making them effective in a variety of combat situations. Apart from its military use, the claymore also had ceremonial and symbolic significance in Scottish culture. It was often used in Highland clan gatherings and ceremonies, where it served as a symbol of honor and heritage. The claymore underwent several design evolutions throughout its history. Early versions were smaller and lighter, resembling typical medieval swords of the time. However, as warfare evolved and armor became more prevalent, the claymore evolved into a larger, heavier weapon designed to deliver devastating blows against armored opponents. By the 16th century, the claymore had reached its iconic two-handed form, with a blade length of around 36 to 40 inches. Today, claymores are primarily used for historical reenactments, stage combat, and as decorative pieces for collectors. While they are no longer employed as practical weapons in modern warfare, their legacy lives on in the rich history and culture of Scotland. Next, we have Zweihander large. Two-handed swords of the Zweihander type date back to Europe's late medieval and Renaissance periods. The Zweihander, sometimes referred to as a great sword, was distinguished by its enormous size and weight, frequently measuring more than 6 feet in length and weighing 10 pounds or more. The Zweihander's physical attributes include a long, straight blade with a ricasso and double edge. To facilitate the use of both hands, the hilt usually has an extended grip and a broad crossguard. Due to its strong two-handed swings and thrusts, the Zweihander was a very effective weapon in combat. The Zweihander was a flexible weapon in battle, able to do severe damage to opponents with or without armor. It was useful for both attacking and defensive maneuvers because of its length and weight, which provided it with a considerable striking force and reach. The Zweihander was mostly a slashing weapon, but it could also be employed for thrusting assaults, taking advantage of openings in an opponent's armor. In the past, the Zweihander was preferred by several elite infantry units and mercenary organizations in Europe, especially in the German-speaking areas. It was used in a number of wars, including the 30 Years' War and the Wars of Religion. But because of its enormous bulk and weight, it was unfeasible to employ for extended periods of time during combat. And as guns proliferated on the battlefield, their acceptance declined. The Zweihander is still regarded as a legendary representation of the late medieval and Renaissance eras, due to its enormous stature and connection to legendary fighters, even if its military use has decreased. Next weapon on our list is dadao. The dadao is a kind of enormous single-edged sword that originated in China. It is sometimes referred to as the Chinese big knife, or great sword. Its name, which means big knife in Mandarin Chinese, alludes to its intimidating stature and cutting ability. In terms of appearance, the dadao usually has a long, straight blade with one cutting edge that gently curves towards the tip. Typically, the blade is large and wide, intended to produce strong cutting strikes. Although the hilt's form might vary, it typically has a straightforward guard and a grip that can be used with one or both hands. Chinese combat has long employed the dadao, which was first created as a military tool. Due to its efficiency in close quarters and adaptability for both offensive and defensive operations, it was preferred by a variety of military groups and guerrilla fighters. Soldiers used the dadao in conjunction with other weapons, such as spears and arrows, making it a useful instrument in combat. The dadao has been used in many historical events, such as resistance movements, civil wars, and uprisings. Dadao variants were employed by Chinese forces in both the Chinese Civil War and the Second Sino-Japanese War, demonstrating the dadao's enduring appeal into the 20th century. Now we will discuss spatha, an example of a longsword employed by ancient soldiers, especially by the Roman Empire and its legions, was the spatha. It first appeared in the latter half of the Roman Republic and was in use until the early Middle Ages. The spatha typically had a straight, double-edged blade that was longer and narrower than the earlier Roman sword known as the gladius. It was designed for slashing and thrusting attacks, making it effective against both infantry and cavalry. The length of the spatha gave it greater reach than the gladius, allowing Roman soldiers to engage enemies from a distance while still maintaining a level of control over the weapon. The primary users of the spatha were Roman cavalry soldiers known as equites. These cavalrymen were equipped with spathas along with a shield, allowing them to engage in both mounted and dismounted combat effectively. The length and design of the spatha made it well suited for use on horseback, as it could deliver powerful slashing attacks while the rider maintained control of the reins. The Roman army employed the spatha among its cavalry, infantry, and officer corps. Compared to the gladius, it had a longer reach and more adaptability, which allowed it to be used effectively in a range of combat scenarios, from close quarters fighting to mounted assaults. The design of the spatha changed as the Roman Empire developed and came into contact with other civilizations. Regional variants appeared all around the empire. Up to the fall of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century AD, it was a standard weapon used by Roman troops. The spatha was still in use by Rome's successor powers after its fall, and it had an impact on the design of European medieval swords. Lastly, we will talk about nimcha. Nimcha is a type of sword that originated in North Africa, particularly in regions such as Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. It is characterized by its curved blade, which typically widens towards the tip, and its distinctive hilt, which often features a prominent pommel and a crossguard with downward curving quillons. The design of the nimcha is reminiscent of both the Arabian scimitar and the European cavalry saber. Nimchas were traditionally used as weapons by various North African peoples, including Berbers, Arabs, and Moors. They were favored by both cavalry and infantry due to their versatility in combat. The curved blade of the nimcha allowed for powerful slashing attacks, while the pointed tip could be used for thrusting maneuvers. Additionally, the nimcha's design made it effective for both cutting and thrusting from horseback. In addition to its practical use as a weapon, the nimcha also held cultural and symbolic significance in North African societies. It was often worn as a status symbol by tribal leaders, warriors, and members of the aristocracy. Nimchas were sometimes decorated with intricate patterns and inscriptions, further enhancing their aesthetic appeal and symbolic value. Today, nimchas are primarily used as decorative or ceremonial items rather than functional weapons. They are often sought after by collectors and enthusiasts of historical weaponry. However, some modern craftsmen continue to produce nimchas using traditional techniques, keeping alive the legacy of this distinctive North African sword. Thank you for watching this video. If you found this video informative and engaging, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content delving into the fascinating world of ancient warfare and weaponry.